Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. It turns out there is a data mine that is fresh off the press and it's talking about some upcoming BR changes and also some changes mainly to ground coming in, well, maybe the next few days or the next few weeks. We'll probably hear an announcement about it today or tomorrow, but what they're doing is they're decompressing the high echelon of ground. It's going from the 12.0 top that it has now, and it's going up to 12.7, at least in ground RB. It's also moving in ground AB and also ground SB2, but I'm going to be focusing on ground RB because that's the game mode that I personally play. I'll put a link in the description if you want to see the changes. It's a data mine from Zabi, and there's also some other changes too. Also, there is a helicopter on sale, the OH-1C, if you want to pick it up. I'll probably talk about it tomorrow. There's also a J35A coming in tomorrow to actually buy as well, and a changelog, which has happened, which I wasn't able to get to. So, once again, we'll talk about it tomorrow. But right now, what is important are these BR changes and the effect that it's going to have on the top echelon of the game. Gadjin already talked about the idea of rejigging a certain set of things, and it looks like that's what they're doing. So as always, if you enjoy the content, make sure to subscribe and like the video. Let's get started. So what I'll do is here, I'll put all of the ground RB changes on the screen. So if you want to look at a specific vehicle that you're interested in, you can have a look here. Basically, what they're doing is they're taking all of the vehicles from 11.3 upwards, which are MBTs and also some SPAAs and other things, and decompressing them. So this is kind of the first step that you usually see in a full decompression for a tech tree. So everything from 11.3 all the way to 12.0 is now getting decompressed from there to now 12.7. So you're going from 11.3 to 12.0. Now it's going to be 11.3 to 12.7, adding 2 more BR brackets in there and also moving around a lot of those vehicles, which is really cool. The major focus of these changes is MBTs, but it is also the AAs that they've brought in, moving a lot of them up to 12.7, such as vehicles like the Spider, for example, and also many others like the SAMPT. What they're also doing at the same time is moving up some of the helicopters. So you have the AH-60, the AH-64E, the AH-129D, the Mi-28NM, the Tiger had FB2, the UH Tiger, the Z10ME, O2 are all going from 12.3 to 13.0. And guess why? Because they gave them all fire and forget missiles, which are some of the most ridiculous mechanics in the game, which I wish they just never added, because as we've talked about before, they take no skill to be able to annihilate stuff with, and basically you just pop up, bang, 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 and then pop down again. Very, very hard to die, especially if you have a DIRCM, just like the Mi-28 and also the Z10ME. So at least they're putting those up. This kind of shows how egregious a lot of those vehicles were, by the way, going up by this aggressive amount. Because remember, when it comes to air, you can actually have BRs all the way up, especially in ground, to 13.7. These things were at 12.3. They're annihilating stuff. So these are going up to still a BR bracket above the top of the ground. So ground top BR now will be 12.7, and also the top helicopter will be 13.0. So you'll still basically face the same stuff in terms of helicopters if you play full top tier. But what changes like this do is they relieve pressure from that area which is below. So that 11.3, 11.7 area gets to be decompressed into 11.7 to 12.3. It also means that vehicles are at 12.0 that weren't performing as well as other vehicles at 12.0 now get different BRs. So for example, stuff like the STRV 122B Plus gets put at 12.7, whereas something like the Macava S4 LIC gets put at 12.3, and the Ariete AMV gets put at 12.3. This may not seem like a large change, but it is a step in the right direction in order for vehicles to actually feel better at their BRs instead of just going up against fully superior vehicles. This is the whole point of decompression, and to make it so matchups are better. And the fact that they're doing 2 lots of decompression in a single area, which is kind of crazy, and also something that we've seen quite a few times. They seem a bit more confident in terms of actually doing this stuff going forward. You have the fact that air now is at 14.3, naval is at 8.7, which they basically went, what was it, from 7.0 to 8.7? Insane when it came to that change over the summer. And it's just given a lot more breathing space to specific vehicles to actually work instead of them just being stuck at a BR where they can't really do anything. They're also doing a few other changes alongside of this. So, for example, vehicles like the Leopard 2PL, which were at 11.7, are now going to be at 12.3. And you might be wondering, well, you know, the PL's not really in a great place in terms of like the other Leopard 2s. Why would they basically put it back into the place where it was before? Well, guess what? They're finally, once again, trying to give DM53 to it. The thing about the Leopard 2PL is it's always been a vehicle which, for some reason, has always been slightly lower than a lot of the other top-tier Leopard 2s. Even the Leopard 2A5, which has always been the highest BR. The Leopard 2PL has been at 11.7, and the basic reason they've given is because they gave it DM43 instead of 53. Well, that's changing now. They're giving it DM53. So now it's going to be a step below all of the other kind of Leopards, which are going to be at 12.7, but it has enhanced firepower to keep up with what it was already fighting anyway. Another change also that is happening is the XM1069, or the ADATS, and also the Panzer S1, and the British ADATS, or the Canada ADATS as it's known. The SP cost penalty has also been removed on those. So they're basically being treated as AAs instead of what they were before, which was Megalodons, where they were able to do the anti-tank stuff and also the anti-air stuff. The reason why the Panzer was so expensive compared to other nations is because it was easily the best AA. But now with the new multi-vehicle SAM systems in, that can't be said as easily. So therefore, they are now putting it back to the standard, showing that they don't feel that it is a step above the rest anymore, which I think is pretty positive because, to be honest, I don't think it is. They're also bringing in all of the changes for the British Ground Forces tree rework that they talked about. This is something that has been sat there for a long time. I don't know why it took so long for them to sort this out, but it's something which has just kind of been sat there, and I thought it was going to happen on the release of the update, but then it got pushed back to later on, and maybe this is something to do with the Chieftain 900, maybe this is something to do with some unannounced stuff that may be coming in, but at least at this moment now, at least in the data mine, it looks like they're going to finally make the change. So this means all of the South African vehicles won't just be in one line, they are going for a shift up basically having the whole kind of like light tank setup, and then also having the export line as well. So moving vehicles to where they actually make more sense instead of based on country, which is how they should have done this a long time ago. But for some reason, they just never did. Instead, they just kind of stuck it to certain areas. What's also interesting, and this is going across the board, so there is a lot of AAs, but they are restructuring a lot of different tech trees. So there are some Israeli vehicles, there are some French vehicles, there are some British vehicles, Russian vehicles, and also American vehicles that are in this list, and even German vehicles, and they have a new label. And the label says the upcoming major update will change the placement of some vehicles in these ground vehicle research branches. If these changes could make it harder for you to obtain certain vehicles in this tree, it may be worth researching and purchasing them before the changes come into effect. So they are doing a lot of changes to a lot of other nations: America, Germany, Russia, Israel, and also France on top of that. And it looks like they are moving around a lot of AAs and also some SPGs once again. So just understand, a lot of these tech trees are changing. We'll probably find out tomorrow or maybe the next day or even today when it comes to the restructuring, why they're doing this, what are they thinking about, and it will probably be for preparation for new vehicles to come in or just to make the tech trees more thematic to be able to go through, which is more likely when it comes to these types of things. Now, the major part is, or in conclusion, this is all very positive. The fact that we're getting huge decompression in ground. A lot of people have been asking for this for a long time. It's great to see. Decompression is never really a negative as long as it doesn't leave black holes. All of this restructuring of the tech tree is also at least to me, makes sense when it comes to actually researching through the lines. It never really made a lot of sense how you're going from light tank to medium tank to AA, you know, to SPG. It makes more sense if you actually put them in their own specific areas so you can grind through similar vehicles as you go. And then also on top of this, the little kind of balancing changes they've done, I'm generally fine with. It's not really going to make a huge difference to the game. It just probably means just grinding out a few other vehicles that are around. So this to me is incredibly positive. This all looks really good. I'm looking forward to see this being added into the game, and maybe we'll see it soon. Maybe it'll take a few weeks. Who knows? The major thing is, at least it's happening. Let me know your thoughts on this, and let me know what you think about it. There is also some economy changes coming in, but I'll talk about those later because I just want to make sure that they're finalized. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.